everyone, and good morning. Welcome to another exciting episode of the NLBC News, your weekly news show where we bring you the best stories about mildly interesting things from science, technology, and even sometimes gaming. We have many exciting stories this week, so without further delay, let's get started. Shaken, not stirred. Scientists discovered the longest known earthquake that lasted 32 years. Earthquakes are a well-known phenomenon in today's world, and so much so that there are many Hollywood movies made about imaginary apocalyptic scenarios in which a large earthquake threatens to destroy a city and chase down Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson through the streets. Large societal ending or planet-ending earthquakes are not the only form earthquakes take, and small or even minuscule earthquakes occur around the world many times a year. What if there was an earthquake that could go on for days, weeks, or even years? Well, there are exactly these types of earthquakes, and the longest standing one was just recently found to have lasted 32 years. Almost 32 years longer than Britney Spears and Jason Alexander's marriage. Now, this earthquake was not a large city-destroying earthquake, or even one that could destroy a poorly built treehouse your grandpa threw together for you on a Sunday afternoon. No, this earthquake suddenly continued for years and years, and basically no one knew. How did this happen? Well, this earthquake was known as what is a slow slip event, and usually the quakes they set off are so small, only scientific instruments can pick them up. What is a slow slip event though? How did this earthquake last for over 3 decades? For those that may not know, earthquakes occur when the tectonic plates in the earth rub and scrape against each other, and the rubbing causes friction, which leads to the earth above trembling and quaking, if the friction between the two plates is large or sudden enough. Slow slip events are similar in that it is related to two tectonic plates grinding against each other, but it happens so slowly that plates move millimeters or less per day. This type of slow movement is where the seismic events get their name. Slow slipping movement that occurs over days, weeks, or years, and is almost always silent, as in it occurs with no one noticing, just like two awkward teens on their first time. This slow slip event, however, found to have happened under the Indonesian island of Sumatra in the 19th century, didn't go out with a whimper. It went out with a bang, just like those two teens. This decades-long slip event was found by researchers that observed the growth of coral patterns in the region off the coast of Sumatra that provided a rare window into the past. Coral cannot grow when exposed to air. So, when the sea level rises locally around the coral, caused by tectonic plate shifting, the changes are visible in coral skeletal growth. This slip event was found to theoretically have led up to something larger, however. In 1861, there was an earthquake which measured an 8.5 on the Richter scale that decimated Sumatra over a previously silent fault. It has not been confirmed with absolute certainty that the slow slip event built up to the devastating quake in the late 19th century. However, scientists have a high degree of certainty that this was the case. With this insight, scientists have started to pay more attention to slow slip events, and this information can hopefully help scientists predict large earthquakes sooner. So Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, make sure to pay close attention to these slip events, because one day we might need you to escape Los Angeles and possibly the end of the world. And that is it for our first story for today. And now moving on to space news. Space debris hits the ISS. Post-apocalyptic life soon? Probably not. This week in Spacey Space News, for the very first time the International Space Station, also known as the ISS, has been hit and damaged by space debris. For those who don't know, the ISS is a multinational space station collaboration effort between 5 space agencies for the purpose of advancing science and technology while being home in space for both astro and cosmonauts. When exactly the damage was done is unknown, but the damage was first noticed on May 12th during a routine inspection. A small puncture, seen in the picture here, was found through the Canadarm2 and was reported, and now we know just how serious the ISS is about science. Even the space stations are getting a shot in the arm. Robo-COVID? No thank you. The Canadarm2, while punctured, is still fully operational, unlike me after my shot, and went on record offering an official apology to the space junk for getting in its way. Some people believe that this may be the Kessler syndrome in effect. The Kessler syndrome is a proposed scenario in which the amount of debris in low space orbit is so high that any collision will lead to more and more collisions of debris, making future generations of spaceflight and orbit much more difficult. This syndrome is also known as the Kessler effect, collisional cascading, or Earth has a lot of its space junk in its space trunk. The ISS has made many discoveries and has close calls over its 20+ years long stay in space. In that time, it has explored a fifth state of matter, made 3 emergency maneuvers to avoid space debris, and has given us all a unique perspective on this little planet. This week's Spacey Space News has taught us all a few things. That, like humanity, the ISS is resilient, but it is wise to be cautious, even in outer space. It has also taught us that if you want to do damage, just go really fast and make sure no one sees you. Twist it, bop it, pull it, watch it. Twisty foldable text is in the works. Royale, a smart device manufacturer known for their foldable phones, the FlexiPi 1 and 2, has unveiled what they say is the first stretchable micro LED display that could also be mass-produced. Royale is known for developing a handful of technologies such as flexible sensors, fast charging solutions, as well as their flexible displays. The possibilities for this kind of technology are as varied and as flexible as the material itself. Just to list a few possibilities, we may be looking at 360-degree displays in the forms of bracelets, larger and easier to use smartwatches, AR glasses, heads-up displays in our cars, and more. As for the even wilder ideas, this may be the beginning of wearable screens. Imagine Netflix neckties, Hulu headwear, Disney Plus pants, Twitch t-shirts. How cool would that be? We will have to wait and see whether or not this will eventually evolve into wearable fashion displays. It may be a while until it gets to that point, as the current design isn't quite as stretchable as the slime in your ASMR videos. Currently, the micro LED display can only bend to about 40 degrees outside its standard position. The wait may take longer still since there is no official release date announced by Royale. Only time will tell if the future is now. With all these big tech companies, however, racing to find the next big thing, they may have to rename themselves Battle Royale. Oh, that joke is painful. So painful. Let's just forget that ever happened. Moving on to our last story for today. Scientists create optical discs that can hold 700 terabytes worth of data. World rejoices as they can now store all the memes ever created on one convenient disk. You've probably wondered what would happen if adult videos were gone from the internet, or you couldn't watch The Wiggles on Disney+. Is such a thing possible? With the advent of the cloud, it seems as if we have infinite space to store all of our tasteful cinema. The reality is that every file that's backed up in your personal space is copied several times on servers all across the world. This technology has an expanding carbon footprint, and the internet running out of space is an actual possibility if the hardware cannot keep up with our constant need to make banger tweets. However, the researchers at University of Shanghai for Science and Technology, the USST, RMIT University, and the National University of Singapore, NUS, have our backs. They've created the Plus Ultra CD, name pending, which holds 700 terabytes of data. That's 1,000,000 times more than the old school CD with your favorite emo phase rock band songs. That's enough to hold all of No Games No Life's episodes on your DVD shelf and still have 699 terabytes worth of space left to hold an entire website's worth of adult videos. The discs are made of a nanocomposite material, or really freaking small bits of material that can hold tons of data each. Even cooler is that the type of laser used to write the data on these bits is continuous, the same used in that colored printer you threw away a couple of years ago. So don't fret over what you're going to do when that ever-growing art collection of small anime girls gets a little too big for that folder. Soon you'll no longer have to write in your will for your best friend to destroy your entire PC in the event of your untimely demise. Perhaps you could even bequeath them the rest of it as their reward for their loyalty. How generous. And with that, that concludes this episode of the NLBC News. Stay tuned next week for our next episode, where we will be discussing new technology for brushing your cats. Okay, there might be a story about that. I mean, I haven't picked the stories yet, but maybe there will be. You know, who knows? Nonetheless, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and see you next week.